Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, politics, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you so much for listening and interacting with me week after week on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember that we're now on TV. Tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch A Moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Also, all episodes are available on demand. We have a great show lined up for you today, not our usual influencer segment. Today, we have a special treat, a 2-in-1, the Cannabis Culture Influencer segment brought to us by Hi There. And we are featuring Phil Cowley. He is a pharmacist and owner of Cache Valley Pharmacy, and he came up with Phil's My Pharmacist handle, trying to bring the sexy back in pharmacy. He's now got close to 1 million followers all over social media, and today he's here to chat cannabis, CBD, THC, and give us insight into proper pain management and the beneficial alternatives cannabis provides. We'll also chat about the overuse of opiates in America. Now, in our Millennial Mom segment brought to you by CCP Digital, we are chatting with Barbara Sanchez of Elegant PR. We're going to chat about her role in social activism, how social media has helped her business, and why standing up to domestic violence is important to her. In our Crypto Frontier segment brought to you by CCP Digital, we are joined by Chris Pulley, CEO of CCP Digital, and Robby Yung, CEO of Animoca Brands, a global leader in blockchain games. Today, we are chatting about blockchain gaming, play-to-earn models, what the monetization incentives look like for gamers, the importance of the communities surrounding these platforms, and how it all works together. And finally, back in our Scandals segment, we are featuring returning legal contributor and analyst Imran Ansari, partner at ABK Law, and we are chatting about the ongoing Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial, another fascinating celebrity moment unfolding in front of our very eyes. Also, a special note, I am pleased to announce that Kyle Wool has been promoted to the role of president of Revere Securities. Mr. Wool will continue to guide the private wealth management initiatives with a keen focus on expanding the business across other areas of the firm. And as per Chairman Bill Moreno, Revere Securities is a leading emerging growth focused broker-dealer serving many industries globally, thanks in large part to Kyle's leadership, energy, and tenacity. Stay tuned. Up next in our Influencer Cannabis segment, by Hi There, we have Phil Cowley, TikTok famous pharmacist. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Vice Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Vice specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Vice Cucina 212-757-2600 or online at vicecucina.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next, we have a special one. It's our usual influencer segment infused with our cannabis culture segment by Hi There. And we are featuring Phil Cowley. He's a pharmacist at Cache Valley Hospital who came up with Phil's My Pharmacist handle, and he's trying to bring the sexy back in pharmacy. Now, he has a huge following on social media as a result. He now goes by Phil's My Pharmacist with close to 1 million followers on TikTok and close to 40,000 on Instagram. Now, with over 20 years of pharmaceutical experience, 4 boys later, and a beautiful wife of 25 years, Phil has a very unique perspective on healthcare, family, and life. And he's coming on in just a few to chat cannabis, CBD, THC, and help us control some of our ailments and pains with naturally derived methods versus the synthetic drugs regularly prescribed. Now, remember, On the Hi There platform and app, you will find a cannabis-friendly social network filled with so much insight and knowledge, a community that will greet you and make you feel at home. And today we are chatting all things cannabis, from being a banned substance to becoming a billion-dollar industry. Cannabis has sure come a very long way, and the legalization of marijuana for recreational and medical purposes paved the way for its boom in the market. Now, before a series of xenophobic anti-marijuana laws came into full force in the US in the late 1930s, cannabis wasn't just easy to access. It was common for doctors to prescribe its use specifically for migraines and headaches. Even the personal physician to Queen Victoria supported cannabis as a treatment for headache conditions, an endorsement founded on an established history. Now, ancient Greeks and Persians recommend using cannabis to treat ailments relating to the head, and the earliest known document of Arabic pharmacology documents the use of cannabis for headaches as well. So there you have it. And here to chat some more is Phil, my pharmacist. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hey, thank you. What a great way to start the morning here. It's fantastic.
All right. Now tell me, how did you become Phil, my pharmacist?
Well, the business started tanking after COVID, and I needed to do something different. And there was this whole group, this whole age group that didn't know what pharmacists did, how they did it. And I started thinking, if you can educate people, people are smart. You educate them and really give them good information. They want what's best for their healthcare. And for whatever reason, 6 months later, here I am, started in October, and this is where we're at so far.
I love it. I love it that you offer alternative solutions to pain management versus what big pharma pushes on us. What made you shift part of your attention to CBD and THC derived products?
Well, I think that the nociceptor cycle that you get with pain is understood. It's not well educated about. A lot of people think if you take a pill and you get better, then you keep on that pill, and they don't realize that your brain triggers itself to get ready for pain. And so if you continue to treat on the same pathways we did for years, then you're going to have this opiate problem over and over again. When they get used to having opiates inside them, the body upregulates all of those receptors, so they need more and more. And it's not giving them pain relief, but it starts becoming more of an escapism for them. They just don't have to worry about it for a minute. When you look at it from that point, the downside of opiates become very stark, and you know that there's no real end to the opiate type thing. So we look back at something that was in the US Pharmacopoeia from 1930 to 1946. Parker Davis, Eli Lilly, Squibb, they all actually offered products with the cannabis in it until 1946. And then we got rid of it because it got demonized. Well, now we're returning back to a lot of those things. Some of the newer drugs, your CGRP drugs for headaches, like your Nurtec that costs $900, modulates the same receptor that we knew that the cannabinoids did 100 years ago. So you start looking at those concepts and think, okay, why are we reinventing something when it's already there?
It's interesting that you say that, because when the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 passed, it was opposed by the American Medical Association, and the criminalization of cannabis stalled research into its, medicinal potential and therapeutic application. But this really didn't stop people from using the plant, right, in an attempt to alleviate the pain. So we've seen that people have continued to use it, but that the research has been yanked. And so in order for us to continue to make the strides that we want to make in this industry, it's extremely important for the medical community, for pharmacists such as yourself, to stand up and tell Big Pharma that, listen, there is some very proprietary uses here. Let's chat CBD, for instance, right? CBD, cannabidiol, and it's a very popular natural remedy used for many common ailments versus the tetrahydrocannabinol THC, which is the main psychoactive cannabinoid found in cannabis, which means it causes the sensation of getting high. And that's the difference, right, between THC and CBD, that causes the sensation of getting high. That is often associated with cannabis, but however, unlike THC, CBD is not psychoactive. Talk to me about some of the benefits CBD offers.
So they've got the two receptors, the main receptors when we talk about any cannabinoids. You've got the CB1, that's mostly in the brain. That's where you get the high feeling. It also has a lot to do with the cognition, but you've got the CB2. And now the CB2, that's found everywhere else. It's found in your joints. It's found everywhere. And the CB2 goes through, and there's a receptor, and this receptor that's out there is the TRPV. And what that does is it works to block the excitement of neurons that are overreacting. So for years, we've been using that in things like capsaicin creams. We've been trying to figure it out, how you stop that bus from getting through that tunnel. That's what we've been wanting to do from the beginning, right? Well, this substance, it already goes, and if you have a good, clean, verified product, and that's one thing you have to bring up. There's so huge variants in CBD products that you have to have something that somebody has really cleaned, somebody who really knows what you're getting. When you get that, it'll go to those TRP receptors, downregulate those set receptors, and so at that point, all of those pain receptors start to dissipate. The nerves don't fire, and you start to get relief in your joint and muscles from that in particularly. So, and we've known this for a long time. We've seen the downregulation of those receptors for a long time, but because the research money wasn't there, and now it's kind of the Wild West in a lot of ways. If you don't get your products, your cannabinoids from someplace reputable, then you don't know what you're getting. So now you get all this misinformation. Even now, last night went perusing for it. There's still so few major studies that are being done. I don't understand it where we know it works. Why aren't we studying it more heavily? And the only thing I can figure is the money's not there for whichever company wants to make a lot of money.
Well, I mean, listen, at this point right now, you when you look at the market and you see that, CBD and THC and or combined, they could reduce symptoms related to even some mental health disorders, because we know for a fact that mental health disorders are often treated with pharmaceutical drugs, which can cause a number of side effects, including, drowsiness, agitation, insomnia, there's sexual dysfunctions, and even headaches, worse yet. And yet medications like the benzodiazepines have the potential for dependency and may lead to substance use disorder versus something like CBD that's much more naturally occurring. Talk to me about the dependence on prescription drugs and the rise of that dependence that you've seen, especially in our youth.
I think that it's pretty easy to say that people are stressed out over the last couple of years. And in particular, you're seeing a lot more anxiety disorders that are coming through. And I think that should have been expected from everything we had going on. If you look at some of the medications out there, a lot of them will work on the 5-HT system, Boost-Par, a lot of your other medications. And so what we do is we think, let's treat serotonin, which is the 5-HT3. So we hand a kid, let's take a Boost-Par. And they're like, well, now I'm not sleeping. So then you say, okay, well, let's give you an Ambien, and that'll go through and block the GABA receptor, right? And they're like, well, I still feel nervous all the time. Like, well, maybe I can give you a beta blocker like propranolol. Next thing you know, they've got 2 or 3 or 4 medications. And now propranolol gives them heartburn, right? The Ambien's giving them a hangover effect, so you got to give them something to wake up. The funny thing is all of those receptors, the GABA receptor, the 5-HT3 receptors, all of the vasodilation that comes from your propranolol, all of these things we use on a routine basis, the cannabinoids hit it from the beginning. So if the cannabinoids are hitting those and you have that one, now I'm not dealing with heartburn because that doesn't happen with your CBD products, right? I'm not dealing with blood pressure drops that you get from the beta blockers. And so you get this cycle, and even more than like addiction on the way that people perceive it, which is this person's out there craving, it's more of, okay, now I feel like garbage because I'm taking this other pill. So I give them another pill. Now that pill creates another one, and you get this rolling snowball effect.
Yeah, it's like a vicious cycle. And we know for a fact that CBD oil has shown promise as a treatment for some of these mental health disorders, such as anxiety. There was a recent study, a Brazilian study, 57 men received either oral CBD or a placebo 90 minutes before they underwent a simulated public speaking test. And the researchers found that the 300 milligram dose of CBD was the most effective at significantly reducing anxiety during the test. And we know for a fact as well that CBD oil has been used to safely treat, if you go one step further, insomnia and anxiety in children with post-traumatic stress disorders, PTSD, right, which is a very serious type of anxiety disorder. Because if you look at the further studies, a small 2009 study also found that CBD was effective for reducing this PTSD-related symptoms, including nightmares in adults. So we're seeing these emerging studies come out. And back to your point, it is extremely critical that we continue our research in this field. What are your wishes as a pharmacist to be able to tell the world out there, the naysayers perhaps?
I'm all about education. I think there's a lot of people out there that want to say everybody's stupid. Like, don't give people information, they'll hurry and ruin their lives. And I don't believe that at all. I think that what we have is under education. If you went and looked at where the neurology works, which of the neurotransmitters it works on, how it does it, now all of a sudden you're saying, wait a minute, I just spent $900 on a headache medication that this has been doing since the 2nd century. It's all about information. And I believe in people. I believe in people being smart. I believe people want the best for their healthcare. And I don't think most people that are using any of the cannabis products are doing it just for fun. I think you're seeing a mass self-help with it when it comes to mental health. I think that you see people feel like, I'm not anxious, I can perform. And then they're like, oh, he's just a pothead. And they haven't even stopped to look at what's going on in that person's life.
Very true. Wise words. Well, listen, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming and chatting with us. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you. You're so full of knowledge.
Well, I'm so glad to be here, and I really appreciate it. It was really fun. Thank you so much.
You got it. Now, listen, guys, is CBD legal? Well, hemp-derived CBD products with less than 0.3 THC are legal on the federal level, but are still illegal under some state laws. Now, cannabis-derived CBD products are illegal on the federal level, but are legal under some state laws. So check out your state laws and those of the ones anywhere near where you're traveling. And keep in mind that non-prescription CBD products are not FDA approved. So you have to really check the labels carefully. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. That was our Cannabis Culture segment brought to us by Hi There. And that was Phil's My Pharmacist. Make sure you check him out on his website at Cache Valley Pharmacy. That's CHE valleypharmacy.com, or check him out on the gram or on TikTok at Phil's My Pharmacist. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few minutes in our Millennial Mom segment brought to you by Biche Cucina, we are chatting with Barbara Sanchez. Now, she was born and raised in Mexico City. She migrated to the United States at just 15 years old. Now, although she didn't speak a word of English at the time, her quick wit helped her master the language within just 6 months. She graduated from Oxnard College in California, where she obtained her associate's degree in paralegal studies. Today, however, Barbara's work is publicity and social media. Today, she's here to chat about why social activism is important, how social media has helped her business, and why standing up to domestic violence is important to her. Now, as she gets settled into the broadcast room, let's chat. 1 in 3 women worldwide experience physical or sexual violence, mostly by an intimate partner. Violence against women and girls is a human rights violation. And since the outbreak of COVID-19, emerging data and reports from those on the front lines have shown that all types of violence against women and girls, particularly domestic violence, has intensified. This is the shadow pandemic growing amidst the COVID-19 crisis, and we need a global collective effort to stop it. Essential services such as domestic violence shelters and helplines have reached capacity. More needs to be done to prioritize addressing violence against women. Everyone has a role to play. And here to chat some more is Barbara Sanchez of Elegant PR. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Sen. I'm so excited to be here today.
I love it that you're on. Okay, let's get started. Let's talk about social activism and what it was about social activism that attracted you. And if you could please tell us your personal brush with domestic violence.
Yeah, absolutely. So social activism has been a part of my life since I was 5 years old because of my parents. My parents always were standing up against injustice in the world. And I kind of just took up on that. And I was like, okay, I need to stand up for what I believe. And yeah, so here I am now, just joining a lot of nonprofits, a lot of good people that are fighting the, injustices of the world, such as domestic violence, which is one of my main things because I was, I'm a domestic violence survivor. I don't like to say, um, you know, uh, I'm not, I'm just surviving that now, thank God. But I don't like to be placed as a victim on that situation just because it make me the woman I am today. But this is what I'm doing now, advocating for domestic violence.
And you're doing such a good job. You represent a lot of talent out there on social media, a lot of celebrities. You are a PR agent to stars and to a lot of public figures. And I know collectively you are really campaigning against violence, campaigning against violence, you know, violence against women, essentially. Now, violence against women and girls tends to increase in any emergency, including epidemics, right? Stress, disruption
Yeah.
of social and protective networks, increased economic hardship, and decreased access to services all exasperated the risk of women suffering violence. How do you feel social media has helped the fight against domestic violence towards women?
Oh my God, it has helped tremendously. And the reason why is because they even have campaigns on TikTok or, Twitter or Facebook, Instagram. They have campaigns where actually, if somebody's in danger, you could actually dial 1-800, whatever, to order a pizza, right? And then you just tell the other person on the other line, oh, I would like a pepperoni pizza. And that's the cue of them knowing that you're in danger. So they will send someone out there, a police officer, to make sure you're okay, and so that way your abuser doesn't have to know that you are calling the police directly, which I think is pretty cool. Or sometimes there's even one for makeup where you actually just call one of your girlfriends and say, hey girl, I ran out of eyelashes, or hey girl, like, can I borrow lipstick for tomorrow? Whatever it is.
Right.
And that is perfect.
It's perfect, but and it also extends the olive branch because now women are connecting in different ways because being a woman, being active online and speaking out, that's often where it all begins, and victims and survivors need to speak up and out. And also in the same context, studies have shown that online harassment is also on the rise. So we know for a fact that gender plays an important role in who is targeted by abuse. And in a study in the US from 2021, 33% of women under 35 years old said that they had been sexually harassed online before. And from in that same age group, it was just 11%. Now, despite all these difficulties, of course, social media is connecting women around the world so they can support one another in the push for change. Now, let's chat about social media and the important role it plays. We have about 3 minutes left. You witnessed the revolution from traditional PR into this measured, quantifiable PR, and along this, the rise in social media influencers and a very modern audience engagement. And then that took everything to the next level. How do you infuse this into your working business model?
Oh God, I infuse it 100%, and I encourage everyone to do it because you have to keep up with the times, and you have to be able to adjust to the new platforms. So whether it's Twitch, whether it's whatever it is, you have to utilize it to your advantage. It's going to put you in another place versus what I like to call traditional PR, where we're just looking at publications, interviews, things like that. Social media has allowed us and opened the door for us to become more versatile and also more, to get more money, basically.
Yeah, of course you have social media influencers that are making upwards of 30, 40, 50,000 a month at this point. I mean, this is true verifiable income. Now let's chat women
Yeah.
ruling social media platforms, right? Studies that analyze female leadership in the internet and particularly in social apps found that women are more active on social media. In fact, they use it more and participate much more than men. The ladies have typically adapted more and better to the technology as well. And we know for a fact that when women participate in social networks, they can, for instance, upload photos on Instagram and at the same time like a post on Facebook and at the same time share a link on LinkedIn. Men, in contrast, have a more linear participation. In general, they're more selective when engaging in conversations and tend to share similar format content. We know for a fact an Intel study shows that 33% of women in Latin America use Facebook as a way to communicate with friends, and that's 8 out of 10 of them prefer using social networks to connecting better with others through chats. And men mostly tend to compile information, check videos, and create content, and prefer giving their opinion on different issues on Twitter. So it's very different patterns and behaviors. We have about a minute left, and I want you to tell me what has been the most impactful social media situation that has helped launch your brand?
Oh my God. Honestly, it was when I had this campaign I was doing for domestic violence and also for farm workers. It really impacted and it really elevated my business in such a way because and this was during 2020 when we're doing Black Lives Matter and everything that was going wrong with the world. So that really elevated my business because we got together, the unity was there. It was a beautiful thing. We raised money for different nonprofits and charities. So that was amazing, and it really took my business to another level. And we did good things too. So that was a win-win.
I love it. It always boils down to social activism for you. Well, listen, Barbara, we have run out of time. I hope you come back and chat with us again. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, guys, you have to check her out. Check out Barbara Sanchez and go to elegantpr.com or check her out on the gram at Barbara Sanchez PR. Now, women today are the pampered children of the market. They hold power in their hands to decide or at least influence almost anything, such as cars, technology, tourism, beauty, medicine, household, and children's items. This is why brands are increasingly setting their eyes on us, seeking to attract us and keeping us loyal. That's right, women. And in this regard, social networks represent a powerful communication channel to reaching out current and prospective customers to create community and involve women in disseminating the messages. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. That was our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by Vice Cucina, and that was Barbara Sanchez of Elegant PR. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CCP Digital, bringing you a view from inside blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. Introducing the latest Blockchain Heroes series, Retro Rebellion NFT collectible card packs from the Nifty Company. Available January 2022. Find out more online at ccpdigital.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, coming up in our Crypto Frontier segment brought to you by CCP Digital, we are joined by Chris Pulley, who serves as CEO of CCP Digital. They are a decade-old digital advertising agency with very unique access and knowledge in the blockchain and cryptocurrency industries. Today, he is joined by Robby Yung, CEO of Animoca Brands. And for those unfamiliar, Animoca is a global leader in blockchain games headquartered in Hong Kong. They are strongly aligned in their vision for audience interactivity and rewards with the future of digital entertainment. And today, we are chatting about blockchain gaming, play-to-earn models, what the monetization incentives look like for gamers, the importance of the communities surrounding these platforms, and how it all ties into the metaverse. Now, in recent news, Cross the Ages, which is a free-to-play game that features digital trading cards as NFTs, recently announced a 12 million seed round. Investors, not surprisingly, included Animoca Brands, major game publisher Ubisoft, Polygon, which is the blockchain powering the game, and Sebastian Bourget, COO of The Sandbox. Yup, they were all part of that round. All of this is very, very telling of a rising industry. Now, blockchain gaming is a flourishing area of the crypto industry, which is actually more and more viewed as a clever way to bring the next big wave of people into crypto. And in January, the number of active blockchain games had doubled from the prior year. Since it's become clear that cryptocurrency isn't its only use case, blockchain is now disruptive tech. With its game-changing applications, no pun intended, experts say gaming will be one of the main real use cases for blockchain. And if you think of it strategically, blockchain could completely restructure the industry, turn the tables on the monopolistic console market, create a multiverse, and make games more immersive than ever. The stream of blockchain investing has dramatically increased. In 2019, We've already seen over $108 million in venture capital investments. And the use for blockchain within gaming's realm, in a word, is liquidity. And here to chat some more are Chris Pulley and Robby Yung. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Robby, I'm going to start with you. Blockchain's application, right, in gaming is in many ways a no-brainer because gamers are already accustomed to tokenization. And some of the earliest games featured applications of virtual currency. Games evolved and fused with the internet as a result of that. And now in-game gold and items can be purchased with real-life fiat currency. This could be particularly useful for the free-to-play model popularized by Fortnite, wherein the majority of gaming revenue is generated by in-game purchases, right, like skins, funded by digital currency. Talk to me about this model, and is there an Animoca token in the works?
Sure. So I think this is something that gamers are very familiar with. As you said, the freemium or free-to-play model has been around for more than a decade. And people have always, in the last 10 or 15 years, spent money to buy virtual currency in a game and then used that virtual currency to buy virtual items. That's how games make money. And whether it's on console or PC or mobile, this has become the de facto business model for the game industry. And that's one of the reasons that we were very excited about this idea of pivoting to blockchain 5 years ago, because blockchain really allows us to codify this structure in a way that that's never been able to be done before. It allows you to tokenize both that in-game currency as well as those in-game items as NFTs and make them not only extremely secure, but able to be transacted peer-to-peer. And that's very important because it basically explodes the model of the centralized game where the game developer, publisher is the one that controls the entire ecosystem. Because once you tokenize all the assets in the game, then individual players have true digital ownership of their items, and they can then transact those items on, within the game or in any third-party marketplace they like. So they have the power to do what they like with their own stuff. They actually own it for the first time rather than just renting it.
For the first time rather than just renting it. I love that. Very wise words. And obviously, when you look at the success of Epic Games' Fortnite, right, that could be a premonition of blockchain's success with gaming, because Fortnite earned $2.4 billion in 2018, making it the highest grossing game in history. And free-to-play games in general made up 80% of all global gaming revenue in 2018 on consoles. Free-to-play titles grossed about 458% more in 2018 than in 2017. So even stats from 5 years ago were that strong. So that is extremely telling. So I'm going to shift to Chris now. Chris, overall, the global market for NFTs swelled to $25 billion last year from $100 million in 2020. So that's a huge leap. And a fifth of that comes from video games. Much of the action has occurred in places like the Philippines, where low-income players have embraced this play-to-earn model that can net them a steady income of a few dollars a day. And this is, in fact, blockchain gaming at its best. Talk to me about the earning incentives these play-to-earn models generate in income for the gamers.
Yes, thank you. And something that just struck me as you were laying the landscape here was how the free-to-play games were making so many billions of dollars. It just sounds funny, right? The free-to-play is making that much money. So I hope the audience catches on to that. Just because it's free to play doesn't mean people aren't spending a lot of money on those games.
I'm so glad you pointed that out. We're vibing.
And so it's really important to understand that, especially as a parent whose credit card has been absolutely hammered by the free to play games on my end, that understanding that, this play to earn space and giving the players the ability to take their game items in a game to another game, sell an item, is really teaching responsibility to some degree, especially in my communities, as I've been educating on the play to earn and the ability to monetize the game and the gameplay. So I think that my thing I'm most excited about is what you described in these third world countries and places that this is new revenue opportunities, all the way to the point where we're looking for the guilds that allow players to match up with someone that may own assets to allow for gameplay and share those assets with players from around the world and allow them to use those assets to earn income.
Exactly, because essentially at this point right now, and to highlight this statistics, we have about 1.4 billion people that are unbanked and or underbanked, and this is surely paving the way for that population and providing a real means of income for many. And all you need is a smartphone to trade crypto and start gaming and start earning. But just be mindful of the clock right now because we're at about 6 minutes, and I want to hear so much more from Robby. Robby, consider the Sandbox, a mobile game that you, as Animoca, acquired in 2018 and transformed into a blockchain product, right? A player can purchase a virtual piece of land for about $4,000, fill it with custom buildings, objects, characters, and flip it for a higher price just by putting the time in. And Animoca participates in the fee every time they're traded, right? So the Sandbox also has its own game currency called Sand that corresponds with real world value, and its market cap is currently 4.5 billion. And essentially the connectivity is what you are feeding, and the sense of accomplishment bona fide with in-game rewards propels the experience. Talk to me about the power of the online communities created within these games.
Sure. I think we talk a lot about community, and sometimes it's an overused word in our particular industry, but that's at the heart of what makes these type of blockchain games successful, because what the metaverse is at the end of the day is it's an online community that brings people together from disparate geographic locations through shared interests. The Sandbox is a perfect example of this, because the Sandbox is a place where people share their love of being creators. Because the Sandbox at its heart, similar to other user-generated content environments like Roblox or Minecraft, is a place where people can express themselves through the experiences that they create within the game. So it relies on the users creating stuff rather than just us. And that's really exciting because, of course, users are always more creative, as you know, than the developers themselves. And so people can create everything in there, from other game experiences to art galleries to just showing off their collection of NFTs. They can do what they like. It's their space. But the beauty of having blockchain underlying it as technology is it provides an economic underpinning to the whole platform, which means that users can monetize their creations. They can gate access to a virtual theme park that they create on their land. They can sell things in an e-commerce fashion, digital goods from their storefronts, or they can simply build condominiums and develop it as a real estate developer in the metaverse, as you would in the physical world. So I think the beauty of it is that it's really up to the imaginations of the users what they want to create. And the key ingredient is community, because as long as people are spending time there, that's what gives it value. It's the reason that New York City real estate is more expensive than real estate in smaller cities, because there's a concentration of community and people that creates demand for that real estate and demand for adjacent real estate. And we see these effects happening in the virtual world just the same way that they happen in the physical world.
So well said. You just buttoned it up in one statement right there. I mean, that New York City comparison really does say it all, and that's the truth. And also to highlight, Animoca Brands has stakes in most of the world's largest and most successful NFT businesses, including OpenSea, which is the largest NFT marketplace with an estimated 2021 revenues of 375 million. And in mid-January, Animoca Brands, another kudos to you guys, raised nearly 360 million at a valuation of 5.4 billion, more than doubling your previous mark of 2.2 billion from October. So we love to highlight brands like this. Now I'm going to pivot to Chris. We have about 2 minutes left. Chris, this is a little bit more complex, so maybe we'll get the support of Robby on this one too. You could both pipe in. But according to a survey by a Worldwide Asset Exchange, which is a blockchain platform focused on virtual items, 62% of gamers would be more likely to invest in digital assets if they were transferable between games. And 84% of developers would create in-game items for the same reason. What do you say to the perhaps fact that the economics of an open metaverse or an interchangeable collection of virtual worlds works against the game companies? For instance, if Call of Duty sold you some weapons, Ubisoft doesn't want you bringing them into Rainbow Six because that eats away at their items, at their sale items. What do you say to this? You have about a minute.
I'm going to have to figure out the question. So I think
Robby, did you understand
Sure.
it? Okay, thank you. You'll answer.
I think basically the idea is that you have to be open to the idea that the market will grow so much more that you'd rather have a smaller piece of a bigger pie. Because at the end of the day, what we have in games now is a monopolistic industry which constrains the growth. Think of it from the user perspective. Would you pay more money every month for a mortgage or for rent? If it's a mortgage, you think of it as ownership and you're willing to pay more. If it's rent, it just goes out the door every month and you think, I'm going to pay as little as I possibly can because it doesn't make economic sense. It's the same thing with digital content you own.
So we do think that the game companies will jump on board and actually want this interchangeable
Absolutely,
collection.
because you'd rather have 5% of something that's 10 times bigger than 30% of something that's 10 times smaller.
Very true. Very true. Okay. So that is about it right now. I want to thank the two of you for coming on. Another very insightful session. These are one of the most popular sessions, Crypto Frontier. So Robby, thank you so much. Chris, always a pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Guys, listen, Bill Gates describes blockchain as a technological tool de force. NASDAQ CEO Bob Greifeld says it's the biggest opportunity set we can think of over the next decade. Now, if the Gates and the Greifelds of the world are right, blockchain's effects will be foundational, immediate, and overwhelmingly positive. Make sure you guys check out Animoca Brands and CCP Digital on the internet and on the gram. Make sure you check out Robby Yung, CEO of Animoca Brands, at View from HF and at Animoca Brands. Of course, Chris Pulley is also on the gram and on Twitter at CCP Digital and at Coach Pulley. That was our Crypto Frontier segment brought to us by CCP Digital. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CCP Digital, bringing you a view from inside blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. Introducing the latest Blockchain Heroes series, Retro Rebellion NFT collectible card packs from the Nifty Company. Available January 2022. Find out more online at ccpdigital.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We're chatting with Chris Pulley, CEO of CCP Digital, and Robby Yung, who is CEO of Animoca Brands. This is our Crypto Frontier segment, and we are talking gaming, where the world is headed, where Animoca Brands is going to take us in the next couple of years, and how these CEOs see the future. Chris, welcome back. Robby, pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a great start there. Where is Animoca going to take us, Robby? What does the next couple of years look like? And even more pointed, how do you see the entertainment industry fitting in? I mean, we've seen Snoop Dogg enter the sandbox, and we're seeing entertainers. I'm thinking, how does the industry start to fit into this, and what does Animoca
Sure.
forecast?
I think one of the things I think I'm most optimistic about is that we've made a tremendous amount of progress in the last, particularly 18 months, that, a lot of public attention has been focused on our industry. So we see such incredible growth of new products coming out. You mentioned Snoop, obviously, in the sandbox. And I think we're going to see not just more of these kind of collaborations with celebrities, entertainers, athletes, etc., but I think we're going to see a lot more platform plays, meaning a lot more people's takes on bringing the music industry into the metaverse, bringing the Hollywood/film industry into the metaverse, and by association, all the international flavors of that, Bollywood and K-pop and et cetera, because at the end of the day, the metaverse is a big place, and there are going to be many, many different cities in the metaverse. And I think we're only just scratching the surface now with products like the Sandbox, which kind of hint at what the future will bring us.
Yeah, well said. I mean, those are all great points. And when you look at where the technology is headed, if I always say to people, Web 1 and Web 2, that's a thing of the past. You need to start thinking about where you will be and live in the infrastructure and the ecosystem of Web 3 as a brand and as a business. And the worst thing that you can do is not be part of it. So I think with the development of where we are headed with respect to cryptocurrency, the metaverse, these digital assets, the pathway out of poverty, for instance, through digital assets and ownership, being able to address real world issues, being able to not only have gamers feel good about themselves, but now earn income. This is all a very transformative, revolutionary take on doing things in a brand new, fresh way. And I think that's at the core of Animoca Brands. I mean, that's my take.
Yeah, well, I think, and also one thing people underestimate is that major technological change, consumer adoption of major technologies generally comes through entertainment, rather than financial services or other things. People don't buy a smartphone because they can do online banking. They buy it because they want to listen to music and play games and have entertainment. And this is true of everything from flat screen TVs to video cassette recorders. It's all about entertainment typically. And so we view gaming as kind of the tip of the spear for blockchain adoption, because we think that mass consumer audiences will be onboarded to blockchain through games as the leading entertainment platform. But the cool thing about blockchain is, because they're open and composable assets, because it's essentially an open source movement, we don't have to limit ourselves just to games. We can interconnect with music content and video content and DeFi and financial applications, etc. So I think we're going to have a much more rich ecosystem thanks to having all of this interconnected.
Oh, without a doubt. And creating more realistic economic systems within games is also at the top of that list, and shifting the definition of a successful game away from revenue and toward in-game currency value, and thereby like refocusing game development efforts to benefit players is such an important topic and conversation to have as developers. And really, when you think about incentivizing players by offering dividends and granting them a vote in development processes, this is revolutionary. You're now changing the paradigm, and you're also fixing this the high cost, low revenue problems of cloud gaming initiatives like Sony's PS Now, right? But by distributing the server over a blockchain network, that changes all of that. But these are the types of things that companies are not at the forefront of. So you guys are the leaders in this. And of course, Chris Pulley, thank you so much for bringing on the most brilliant guests that are just going to be so well received, because the WOR listenership is extremely important, and they are very, very into blockchain, cryptocurrency, and all of these technologies. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And thank you, Robby. I know your time is limited. We really appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Honestly, anything for WR. I actually grew up listening to this station.
Oh, no.
We've been on the air for 100 years, and I was proud to say.
No, I'm not 100. I'm not 100.
No, but we have been. I'm not 100 either. I'm a millennial mom, but we've been on the air for 100 years, and I was one of the featured radio hosts that is revolutionizing and digitizing radio, and really allowing the platform to not just be your typical radio access, but really taking radio and spinning it off into all of these platforms and verses, so to speak. But out of 13,000 radio hosts total in the US, there's less than 18% of us that are women. So I take my job very seriously.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Sen.
Absolutely. That was our Crypto Frontier segment, brought to us by CCP Digital. That was CEO of CCP Digital, Chris Pulley, and his good friend, Robby Yung, CEO of Animoca Brands. So insightful the two of them were. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Hi There, a creative community exploring the culture, craft, and science of cannabis. Hi There believes that we have a collective responsibility towards eradicating the stigma, misinformation, and inequities surrounding this plant so we can unlock its true potential for all. To become involved and find out what all the excitement is about, download the Hi There app from the App Store and Google Play. Hi There, HIGHTHERE.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few, we have the Scandals segment with Imran Ansari of Idala Bertuna Commons, otherwise known as ABK Law, right here in New York City. And today we're going to be covering the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial. A quite interesting moment in American celebrity as Johnny Depp is suing Amber Heard for $50 million after she wrote a 2018 op-ed about her alleged experience as a survivor of domestic violence. Now, she is countersuing for $100 million. Now, we are now 3 years after Johnny Depp filed the defamation lawsuit, and the case has now gone to trial in Fairfax County Circuit Court in Virginia. Now, as Imran gets settled, let's recap the facts. In 2016, Amber Heard alleged Johnny Depp bruised her face after hurling a phone at her in their LA home. He denied the allegation and was not charged with any crime. The couple settled their divorce months later, and in December of 2018, Amber Heard wrote an opinion piece for the Washington Post headline, quote, "I spoke up about sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change," end quote. Amber stated that she became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and she felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. And here to break it all down for us is Imran Ansari. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thanks for having me, Zen.
Okay, so tell me what's going on over here. Break it down for me, because I know that the following year in 2019, he then filed that $50 million defamation suit against her, and here we are today. What's happening?
Yeah, Zen. So the legal battle between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard continues. And I say continues because this is the second time the two face each other in court. The first time was in 2020, where there was a trial in the UK. Johnny Depp, another defamation case, he sued The Sun for publishing, again, allegations of domestic abuse by himself against Amber Heard. Now, Johnny Depp lost that trial in the UK. They found that there was substantial truth to Amber Heard's allegations that Johnny Depp abused her. But now, across the pond, back on home soil, Johnny Depp is taking his defamation case in the United States to court, and he is facing down his ex-wife Amber Heard in that courtroom. You know that he has sued her because of that op-ed piece where she didn't name Johnny Depp, Zen, but really alluded to the domestic violence that she has accused him of. Right. So this case, intersection of Hollywood and the law, again, and you know that gets people going right now outside the courthouse. There has been a lot of support for Johnny Depp. Of course, Amber Heard has some supporters. There are people outside that courthouse and dressed up in pirate gear. That's an homage to Pirates of the Caribbean, one of Johnny Depp's famous movies. But these two are bearing down at each other again in the court of law.
And this is the second defamation lawsuit, right? When you walked us through, and it looks a lot like the first one, though, with some obviously important caveats. And those caveats have both legal and PR observers very captivated, because Johnny Depp and his team see this lawsuit as a chance for redemption, perhaps, in the public eye. And Amber Heard's team claims that a jury verdict against Johnny will send a message to the millions of women out there who suffer from intimate partner violence every single day, that they can move safely on with their lives, and it will allow her to move on as well. So I think that there's so much more to this. And back to what you said, you have a guy who ranks among the top 10 highest grossing movie stars of all time. And the trial represents perhaps a last opportunity to salvage his career, because as of recently, back in 2010, he was earning $75 million a year. And at the time, his ability to almost guarantee a big box office meant that studios are willing to pay him whatever it took to just get a bit of that little Johnny Depp magic. But his image has lost its shine, and his star power was all but extinguished right during that London High Court action. And he was dropped from the Pirates of the Caribbean and the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and he has only appeared relatively in small budget films, including City of Lies, which was one of the Romulus Entertainment lineup. But yes, what you're saying is resonating, because I think that right now, this is now crossed the lines of just what is ethical and what is truly about the law.
Yeah, Zen. And that is why he's suing for 50 million. Those are the damages he's claiming. He's saying his career has tanked because of the allegations made against him by Amber Heard. And now let's break down the law, Zen. This is a defamation case. He is going to have to show, because he's a public figure, and this goes back to a landmark Supreme Court case called New York Times versus Sullivan. He's going to have to show that Amber Heard, the allegations made against him, the statements she made in that op-ed piece, that they were false, and she knew it was false, or she acted with actual malice, meaning that she acted with the reckless disregard for the truth. So the burden is on Johnny Depp to show that, whereas in the UK, the trial he lost, it was more of Amber Heard's burden. It's a different burden over in the UK in a defamation case to show that it was true. But however you slice this, the court of public opinion is all on it. You see social media ablaze. You see people outside the courthouse there.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen in the court of law? We're going to see that.
We're going to see it
be
play out.
an interesting trial.
Okay, I have a very important question, and we have about 2.5 minutes left. So this is an interesting point. When I was reading one of the articles, as the trial opens, we know that Amber's lawyers are likely to invoke a Virginia law that creates immunity from civil liability for individuals under certain circumstances, including defamation based solely on statements that are made either to third parties regarding matters of public concern, right? That would be protected under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And her lawyer, Elaine, has argued the article in question addresses a very serious issue of public concern, which is domestic violence. Now, his lawyers have argued that the law does not apply because Amber's claims pertain to Johnny Depp's alleged personal behavior. What do you say to this?
Yeah, so this is clearly really brings that defamation law to the forefront. And as you stated, that particular statute provides a safe haven based on the First Amendment. You hit the nail on the head there, Zen. The First Amendment, of course, guarantees free speech, but the law of defamation is always sort of in conflict with that because the defendant who is being sued for defamation will usually invoke the First Amendment, say it's protected speech. Another aspect here, Zen, is that these statements were within an op-ed. Opinion is also an area which is protected from within free speech, and usually an opinion cannot be the basis for a defamation case. All these little legal wranglings are going to be playing out in the court. Ultimately, the jury is going to have to decide that. They're also going to be hearing testimonies and from James Franco, Elon Musk, a lot of celebrity in that courthouse. And when that happens, all eyes are on that courtroom.
Yeah, well, you said it best. Listen, let's watch how this plays out. But thank you so much for coming on and giving us so much insight. Another scandalous segment has arisen that we are going to be watching like hawks.
Thanks for having me, Zen.
You got it. Guys, you have to check him out. That's Imran Ansari. Go directly to their website at idalalaw.com or check him out on the gram at Imran Ansari ESQ. That was our Scandal segment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or go to 710wor.iheart.com/A Moment of Zen. And remember, we're now on TV. Download the KP Media TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Android TV, or tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch A Moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. All episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on demand. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.